Welcome to a podcast by Kayleigh, the gateway to unlocking your unlimited potential. I'm creating an army of 6- and 7-figure makeup artists, and I want you to join me. In this podcast, I'm going to be crushing gatekeeping, opening the doors to the knowledge you need, and deep diving into the topics that can push us to the next level. Be prepared for epic guests and answers to the questions you have always wanted to know. No more small business. No more just a makeup artist. The beauty industry is a $250 billion industry, and you're in it. Let's get ready to open those gates. This is a podcast by Kayleigh. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of a podcast by Kayleigh. Now, I think the very first thing that I need to do is address the giant elephant in the room, which is, where the bloody hell have I been? Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys that follow the podcast probably also follow me on Instagram stories, and I just needed a little break. I felt like I had worked pretty solidly since Christmas, and it just, if I'm honest with you, if I'm just real with you, it all got on top of me. And there was one particular day where I was editing a podcast episode, and it was actually an episode on burnout, and I was editing it back, and there was like quite a crunch. I really wanted to get it out like pretty much that day, and I was listening to it back, and on reflection, I don't know if I was being very hard on myself or what have you, but I just really didn't feel like I could put that out into the universe. I really didn't feel, if I was being honest with myself, it was my best work. And I'd been feeling that for a little while. The newsletters I was sending out, the blog posts I was writing, I just felt like nothing was my best work. And I wouldn't feel 100% happy with myself if I released something that in my gut I knew wasn't great. So I thought I would take a break. I have a really great community here, and I knew nobody would really pay any mind to the fact if I took a break. So I'm very, very grateful for the community that I have here, who was very, very kind to me when I looked like I was about to cry on Instagram stories, and I'm not a crier at all. So I feel like a break did me, honest to God, a world of good. I just took a step back. I spent loads of time with my family, my partner, my dog, and I thought today I would return back to the podcast and record a solo episode. So there is no script. I wanted today to be a fun episode because I felt my previous episode, the one that I didn't release, wasn't very fun. And sometimes I feel like I have a knack of wanting in my gut, it probably comes from people pleasing. In my gut, I just want to provide so much value, and I feel like I need to undo a little bit of this. So one big change that I've made to my newsletter, which I really, really wanted to be jam-packed full of value, I've stripped it back. Now it's kind of like a diary, literally diary entries. I feel like I got too obsessed with providing value, and it creeped into the podcast a little bit, and I've realized not everything I do needs to provide massive amounts of value. Sometimes the best things can just be fun little episodes that perhaps you might learn a thing or two from. So today's episode, I wanted to talk about some makeup artist horror stories that I have had in the past. I thought this would be really, really fun. I know a lot of you guys listen to this podcast whilst you're on the way to jobs and things. So I thought I would provide a little laugh today. I thought I would provide a little bit of comic relief. Now, obviously, for full purposes, none of these stories are real. Obviously, everybody is fictional, but please do enjoy some of these experiences that I have had whilst being a makeup artist over my 10 years. So let's do a story time. I would like you guys to rewind to little baby makeup artist Kayleigh. I had just moved to London. Full disclosure, I'm not originally from London. I moved here in around 2014, 2015, around that time. And I was very, very new to makeup. I was just starting my freelance career. So I was saying yes to every single job that landed on my lap. I didn't care what it was. At the time, it was very much starving artist mentality. I'm talking London is an expensive city. It was paycheck to paycheck. Every bit of money counted. So I was actually on a hen party job. It was a really, really cute job, I remember. Bridal party had hired me to do makeup for their hen party and just to do a giant group lesson. It was really, really fun. And I was there for quite a while and I was having a little break. I remember distinctively I was eating a cupcake. They had like cupcakes and they gave me one. I looked on my emails and I had an email from a guy asking if I was free that night to do a smoky eye on him. I'm a natural people pleaser. I love to help people. You know that about me. I whizzed back and I was like, absolutely. I finish at my current job at around 8:30. So I could probably be for you for like 10:30 kind of thing. And the guy was like, great, just looking for a smoky eye. It was all very nice emails. I didn't really get any kind of red flags at this point in the process, but I was very silly. I didn't background check anybody. I was just popping along to an address that I didn't know about, and that could have been anyone. Nowadays, I'm way, 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 way better at this. I'm not saying that I Google every single client that comes, into my inbox, but I feel like I trust my instinct a lot. And already, even though there was no warning signs, already my instinct was telling me this feels a little bit strange to me. So he gave me an address and I get the tube across London to go to his flat. And I tried to get a little bit more information about what he wanted because I really, really wanted to have a good idea in my head of the vision and what he was after. But he couldn't really give me anything via email. And I guess that was my first red flag. Now, I pop along to the address and it's in East London somewhere. And I remember distinctively walking down this kind of dodgy street in East London. Now, I wasn't from East London at the time, but I now actually do live in East London. So I actually know this street. I remember I was looking at my phone. I was looking at the address on my phone. I was looking at his door and his door didn't have a handle. The handle had actually been punched through. There was a giant hole where the handle was. And it was at this moment I started to feel a little bit uneasy because it was in like an alleyway. I just wasn't feeling very, very safe. And I'm literally about to text him, and the guy whips open the door, and it's a guy in his kind of 40s, I want to say. He had kind of long hair, he was wearing a dressing gown, and he's like, come in, come in, come in. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions about anybody, but I did feel instantly from the environment that I was in, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I walked into a studio flat. There was kind of drug paraphernalia everywhere. There was pills everywhere. There was like at least 2 or 3 cats. There was just a bed in the middle of the room. And that was it. It was a very dark room. Like the windows, there was like curtains drawn and it was all blacked out. And the guy himself, was wearing a dingy dressing gown. If I'm going to be real with you, he was wearing a dingy dressing gown and he didn't look, like somebody who had it together, let's say. Instantly, when I walked into this room and I looked around, I felt that woman's instinct of mine just perked up and I felt instantly like I was in danger. I cannot explain this feeling that I had. I've only ever had this feeling twice. The second time that I had this feeling, I was actually running in the forest. Back in COVID, I lived with my parents and their house backed onto a forest. That was my regular running trail. And it was fine. Like I ran through that forest, I'm going to say over 100 times. One particular incident, I was running through it and I felt so strange. I can't describe, I felt so strange. And I actually ended up sprinting home. That's probably my fastest run ever. That was the only ever time that I have felt like this. I felt like, if I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not being dramatic, I don't think I'm a dramatic person, but I felt like I was going to die. Like I was like, this is where it happens. Like I'm in the bad movie right now. So I look at him and I'm like, where shall I set up? Obviously terrified. And he's like motioning to the bed like, oh, will here do? Because he had no like surfaces or he had no table. There was just a bed in the middle of the room. Any normal sane person, if it was me now, I wouldn't have even stepped foot into that room. I wouldn't have even taken that client because now all my clients book online. So there is kind of a paper trail or a digital trail. And I wouldn't normally go to a guy's house that late, if I was getting any inkling of a red flag or whatsoever. So I start to set up my stuff and I'm about to do the quickest and worst smoky eye of my life. Literally, I'm talking, I got an Urban Decay palette, blackout on the eye, barely blended. I was about to leave. Whilst I was doing his makeup, I started to talk to him a little bit. And I was asking why exactly he wanted makeup. And honestly, he gave me 3 or 4 different answers. It was his friends had dared him. This was just a joke. He was going to a party. He wanted to feel really good. So there was so many different answers that I couldn't tell you which one was the correct answer. And I just whacked the smoky eye on him. I honestly did a terrible job. Like, I shouldn't have been paid for the work that I did that day, but I just wanted to get out of there. So, and if I'm being honest, if I look back and I'm being really honest with myself, the guy, he didn't make like any moves. He didn't say anything that was like offensive or overly strange. I mean, he did say some strange things, but nothing that, if this was in a studio environment, he wouldn't have said anything that would have given me red flags. I think it was a combination of the environment and everything. And I finished the makeup and I tell him to go and have a look in the mirror. He had like a mirror in his bathroom. He has a look in the mirror and he bursts into tears. And I'm like, oh my God, like, he doesn't like it. And he's like, it's great, it's fine, it's fine. And then he starts to proceed to pay me. Because it was so last minute, it was done in cash. So he starts to get the cash out and he's like counting it. And I have literally, like, imagine my arm on the bed and my open kit at the end. I have just pushed all of the products into that bag as quickly as I can. There was no rhyme or reason. It was just all thrown in there. I didn't care about the Dior palette getting smashed. I just wanted to get out. So he goes to pay me, and as he is handing over the cash, I'm talking, his hands are on it, my hands are receiving it. He asks me, do you ever feel unsafe going into people's houses at night? And I think this is it. This is the moment where I am going to die. This is it. This is the moment. He's made me do his makeup and now he's going to kill me. And I blurt out, no, 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 because I'm always being tracked by my partner. My partner always has like my Find My Friends. He always knows where I am. And he goes, oh, all right, cool. Just like, kind of thing, like awkward laugh. And then I leave. Obviously, nothing bad happened. I'm here to tell the story. Now, I've spoken to so many people about this incident. I've spoken to my friends, I've spoken to clients, I've spoken to everybody. And I've got a real mix of opinions from people saying, you would have been a story on the news. You would have been a missing persons case. You only survived that because of that last thing you said. To people saying that they thought I might have been there to help this person with their transitional journey. All of these things. Now, I don't know why I was there. I've obviously had many years to reflect on this. I mean, I got home and I tried to Google. I used the email address that he had emailed me from and the name, and there was nothing. There was no social media. There was no trail of this person. When I actually went to email, my ex at the time suggested that I email him for a review to try and get like maybe like a Google trail or something, just to really out of curiosity see who this person was. When I actually went to email him for a review, it bounced. That email didn't exist anymore. So there are just so many things running through my head about what that situation was about. But ultimately, it came down to the fact that I didn't feel safe in that moment because I hadn't listened to many, many, many of the red flags that had popped up from even just the fact that I was walking into a stranger's house without even really knowing their full name. He used like a nickname on his email sign off, to ignoring the fact that I was just even in an area that I didn't feel 100% safe in, to just the fact that I went to that job purely for money. For obviously I really did want to help an individual feel amazing and confident, but I looked over every single red flag and instinct because of money. Now, I operate my business so differently now. I'm really, 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 really cautious. Every single transaction now has to have a digital trail. If for whatever reason a client wants to be discreet, I ask for ID and passports. And obviously I take all of my jobs now, apart from brides, from homes. So that does add to me feeling a lot safer nowadays. But ultimately, what I wanted to say with this story was, we as makeup artists and working in beauty, we do go into people's homes kind of willy-nilly. That is sometimes really, really scary. That left an imprint on me for quite a long time. Even to this day, I still feel really, really scared about what I did. And, when I tell this story to friends and they say to me, like, you could have been a missing person, like that didn't sound like a great situation. It terrifies me, and it makes me think like there are so many baby makeup artists out there who would do exactly the same that I did in that situation. They would have taken the job and they would have ignored every boundary that they had set for the simple paycheck. So I hope that this entirely fictional story can help educate some of us on just maybe tightening up some of those safety practices that we do have in our business. Because ultimately, when we are mobile and we're going out to people's houses, we do need to protect ourselves. If you are looking to make sure that you are protected as a makeup artist, just always try and get a real full name, try and get a contact number, tell somebody where you are going, give the address to somebody where they will know where you are. if you really want to tighten it up, I've gone completely digital. So whenever anybody pays me, you know, there is a trail for somebody to follow. I've always got my location shared with my mum and my boyfriend. So I don't know. Let me know your opinion on this story. Am I being dramatic? Let me know what you think. When people ask me, why do you think I was there? Oh, I think I was there because this person was lonely. That's the conclusion I've come to. I feel like I was there for a bit of company. I don't think he was going to a party. I don't think there was a dare. I don't even think he was doing a transitional journey, just from the energy that I got from him compared to the many clients that I've helped on their own journeys. I don't feel like I was there for that purpose. I feel like I was there because a person was very lonely and perhaps wanted to try something new, or I don't know, there was a lot of drug paraphernalia, so who knows. But that is one story time. Now, if you're on the way to a job right now, don't let that terrify you. That has only happened to me once in 10 years. Literally once. And out of all the makeup artists that I have spoken to, nobody has a story quite like that. So don't let this terrify you into not working. Just make sure that if you don't have any of those security practices that I talked about, make sure you have some of those to keep you safe. Okay, second story time. That was the scary one. We're now going to go on to maybe one you can get a bit of comic relief out of. This is an entirely fictional story of the time I almost died on set. So I have a very fatal nut allergy. I have an anaphylactic nut allergy. So for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that when I have nuts, any nuts, peanuts, almonds, unfortunately hazelnuts, that means I cannot have Nutella, my throat swells up. And eventually what that means is it means that I can't breathe anymore. So I have an EpiPen that you put into my leg. It's a gigantic needle. It's absolutely awful. I've never had to use it. Touch wood. So I have a pretty big nut allergy. And a few years ago, I was working on a big commercial job, one of the biggest of my career. In fact, the biggest of my career at that time. Obviously, on these big jobs, there is catering. If I think about this shoot, it was absolutely horrendous. Like, I remember one of the models, they turned up with black chipped gel nail polish. You know, when, you know, your gels have grown out a bit at the edges and you try and peel them off. She had that in black and she had turned up for it. And obviously the director was like, this is absolutely unacceptable. Makeup, can you fix this? Now, I find this is going to be a tiny rant. I'm going to actually stand on my soapbox right now. One of my biggest bugbears being a makeup artist, sometimes in a male environment, is they do lump us in with every aspect of beauty: masseuse, pedicures, hair, makeup apparently can do it all. And I find this is really something that is quite hard to deal with in a commercial, male dominated environment. So the director, I mean, the way that sometimes we as makeup artists and hairstylists get spoken to in these kind of environments anyway is disgusting and disgraceful. But on this particular occasion, the director comes in absolutely furious and tells me to fix this mistake. So obviously I don't do nails, and these are all stories from when I was younger and perhaps less experienced. And if this was to happen now, I would stand up to this director and be like, look, I do makeup. I'm not insured to do nails. And that is a completely different speciality. I would come at it with education and I would firmly stand my ground as the expert that I have been hired in that. You know, I've been hired to do makeup and I would use my voice to give that opinion. But back then I was like, oh yeah, fine. So I had my lovely assistant Beth at the time who was helping me on hair, and I told her to kind of keep watch on everything, and I was going to run to Boots, which is a pharmacy here, which was just around the corner. It was really close. And I was going to get nail polish remover and nail polish and try and get rid of this mess. So off I trotted to Boots. Obviously, it was a tiny Boots. They had like 3 nude nail polishes, all number 7, and in fact, if I remember rightly, they did not have nail polish remover. Beth is going to have to come and correct me on this. I don't think I had nail polish remover. Now, we all know you can't get rid of gel nails with nail polish remover. You have to have acetone and they have to be soaked. But I thought if I had that, I could at least try. So went back to set. Obviously, putting nude horrible nail polish on top of black is never going to look cute. Even if I am a manicurist, even if I am the best manicurist in the world, there was not much that could be done in this situation. Really, what that director should have done, or what production should have done, not the director, but the production team, should have paid for her to go and get a manicure, especially when the shoot has close-ups of her hands on laptops, which is exactly what that shoot was. It was a laptop shoot. So I wish I had pictures. I wish I had taken pictures of this awful manicure job. I'm not a manicurist. I don't do nails. But the director and the photographer and the videographer, they took one look at these nails and I was instantly bad guy number one for that day. And the whole incident hasn't even happened yet with the nut allergy, okay? They already hate me, especially the photographer who definitely thinks those nails look a state because of me, because I've done a shit job. Anyway, that happens. It's lunchtime. I'm absolutely starving. So catering brings in the lunch and there were two wraps and there was a bang bang chicken wrap and there was another wrap. It was like a bacon chicken and lettuce or something wrap. And I was sure, in fact, in my head, I'm 99% sure I picked up the bacon lettuce wrap, the non-nut wrap, okay? And if you have a nut allergy, you know that you know when you're having a reaction within seconds. So we're all sitting outside and I take a bite of this wrap and I know within seconds there is a fucking nut in this wrap. There is a nut. This is the bang bang chicken wrap. I just know within seconds. And I look at Beth, and it's so funny if Beth's listening to this. I would love to have known my face at that time, but I think because I'm so new to the industry and I have no confidence at this stage, I really politely excuse myself from the situation. So I say to Beth, I think I'm having an allergic reaction. Can you take over? And off I go to the toilet. Now, I haven't had an anaphylactic reaction in a really long time. I'm talking maybe like since I was 3 years old. So I was terrified. Went into the toilet and I could see my entire mouth is starting to get like red. I need to go. So I tell Beth, can you please let them know that I'm having an allergic reaction and I need to go to hospital? I can't really remember her reaction or what she says, but I leave my kit there and off I run and I make it outside in this courtyard and there's a bin and I immediately feel, I mean, if you have allergies, especially really bad allergies, you will know that your body does everything to make you exercise that allergy. So you go hot, you go cold, and you do end up throwing up. So I'm outside, I am like starting to explode into hives. My lips are bright red. I can feel my throat closing up. And I run to a bin because I can feel, you're getting the watery mouth. And I start to throw up like projectile into the bin. And then I feel like a tap on my shoulder as I'm like gripping the bin, like trying to compose myself. The whole, like loads of people have seen me. Loads of people are viewing this display and I feel a tap on my shoulder and it's that fucking director. And he's like, are you able to come back inside? Does it look like I can come back inside? And I say, no, I'm having a really bad allergic reaction. I have to go. My assistant's here. And he's like, okay, should we get a runner to get you like antihistamine? And I'm like, yeah, that would be great, but I still need to go. I can't really remember. I feel like the body goes into like a state of shock. So I can't really remember what happens. I can't remember if I go to Boots or if I go to a pharmacy. I know I didn't need to take my EpiPen. I didn't go to hospital because this is how young, stupid, and naive I was. I didn't have the confidence. The thing on my mind was going back and pleasing that director because I had already made a mess of the nails, which wasn't my fault. So somewhere along the line, I've taken a bunch of antihistamines. I don't know if that was in Boots. I don't know if somebody on set had antihistamines. I can't really remember because my body was like, I don't even know. But I do know that I went back into that set and finished the job. And I was like double the size because, my body is reacting in a really strange way. So my arms are like Michelin Man arms. My face is double the size. I'm completely red. I'm covered in hives. My lips are gigantic. I've taken about 20 antihistamines to try and calm down this situation. And I'm on set, like I've been crying, I've been vomiting, I probably stink. And they fully expect me to carry on working. And this is extremely common. I feel like this is like the toxic side of the industry sometimes, is they think that this shoot for this laptop is the single most important thing on the planet. And I get it. You've spent 30K on this shoot. I get it. But somebody's life is worth more than this. So I remember I finished the day and I can't remember if someone took me home. I really can't remember what happened. But I remember being in a state of complete delusion and packing up my stuff and leaving the shoot. And I remember the director, as I'm walking out, saying, please don't sue us. which to me signals I probably should have sued them. Obviously, I was never hired again. I remember there was a stylist on this shoot that I was quite good friends with, and I think she said they were quite annoyed at the makeup artist, me, for being unprofessional. I wasn't ever unprofessional. I was just having an anaphylactic reaction from something that wasn't my fault, because in my head, I guess what had happened is the two, labels of the two wraps had got mixed, or one of the satay chicken wraps had got mixed with the other wraps. I don't really know what happened. Maybe it was human error. Maybe I reached and I got a satay wrap rather than a bacon, lettuce, tomato one. I guess the moral of this story is, if I could tell kind of baby Kayleigh anything, I would tell her to stick up for herself more. In this era, I wasn't really using my voice. And if this had happened now, first of all, I'm really, really cautious. I don't eat catering anymore. I usually try and tell them this is a really, really serious allergy that I have. Can I please bring my own lunch? Can I please provide my own lunch? Or can I please order my own lunch? I normally do ask now for nuts to not be on anything on set. This doesn't happen most of the times. I remember there was one particular set that I was on and I asked for there to be no nuts on set, and they actually sent out, like, on the call sheet, please don't bring nuts. There is somebody with a really serious allergy. And then literally the runners come in with all the snacks, the snack table, and there are a bunch of cereal bars with nuts in. I get it. Like, it is my problem, nobody else's problem. But I would have, in that situation, I would have said to that director, as soon as that allergic reaction was happening, I would have asked for an ambulance to be called, and I would have said, I'm not coming back on set. I would have maybe asked Beth to pack up my kit for me. I would not have gone back on set, but I was just such a people pleaser. I was such a walkover. And I think, honestly, this confidence does come with a little bit of age and a little bit of working in the industry for a while. But if you can learn anything from this particular story, it's to use your voice. You can be kind, you can be amazing at your job, and you can still speak up when things maybe need a bit of clarification. Ultimately, we have been hired, we have been paid a really decent day rate for these jobs. I should have been firmer when it came to the nails, because ultimately when I stepped in, it didn't make things worse, but it didn't make me look any better. It made me look worse. If you are hired as the expert for the makeup artist of that day, and this goes across all industries, bridal, commercial, editorial, you have a voice and you can use it in situations where you can contribute to the conversation. If something isn't right, if somebody isn't treating you right, if there just is a situation where you know more than everybody, because ultimately we are paid that wage because we know the most about our speciality. You see camera people speaking up, photographers speaking up, you see techs speaking up. We also can speak up, but I feel like we don't sometimes, and we should. And I know that this does come with a little bit of experience and time as well. That's how I got to this position. If I could tell baby Kayleigh anything, it would have been to speak up about both of those things, the nails and the allergy, and been firmer. You can be kind and you can be firm. It makes you look like you know what you're talking about, and it makes it look like you're supposed to be there. You are being paid to do a job there, and the only way we can sometimes do that job well is if we speak up. That was my second horror story. Shall we move on to the third? This podcast is brought to you by the Level Up Club, my monthly membership for makeup artists. Imagine a place created with done-for-you monthly resources and coaching, literally everything you need to create and scale a profitable, thriving makeup business. Well, it exists, and it's called the Level Up Club. I am so proud of this membership. I literally poured my heart and soul into it. Inside, you will find monthly Canva templates, monthly stock images, social media calendars, email templates, workflows, pro program lists, agency lists, monthly coaching, and conversations with the people who can help smash gatekeeping. I'm talking agency owners, PRs, top makeup artists, and experts. They're all inside. And not only that, but monthly in-person events. We have already held portfolio days, headshot days, branding days, and so much more is coming. The club is taking the mystery out of making money. Your makeup business doesn't have to be make-believe, and I'm showing you how. And guess what? It's only £30 a month. In London, that's literally 2 hot chocolates. I'm not even kidding. So come and join us, the only membership I promise you'll ever need. Now, back to the pod. So the third story I have involves bridal, and this is my final horror story. These are the three only horror stories I have in my career, to be honest. I mean, obviously we sometimes work on jobs that have elements of horror stories to them, but this was the last horror story that I personally have. And this was about a bride. Now, I work with a couple of wedding planners. I don't really work with them anymore because ultimately our ideal clients weren't aligned. And I do think this is the first thing you can take from this is just maybe be sometimes careful when you work with other makeup artists referring you or wedding planners or agencies, because that ideal client that they have might not necessarily be your ideal client. So for this job, I was working with a wedding planner and a really, really wonderful bride. And she was having a really, really alternative wedding. She was wearing like an amazing, colourful dress, and she was having like a bright teal eye. It was really, really wonderful. And she was pretty much my ideal client. She was chill, she was cool, she was lovely. Let's fast forward to the day. The trial's been done, really looking forward to the day. I turn up and I'm doing her makeup, her mum's makeup, and her sister's makeup. The bride is fine. She loves her makeup. She's feeling really, really good. She's already kind of given me the pre-wedding day warning that her family might not be very easy. They're not as chilled as her. And she said that her mum will certainly have things to say about the look that she has chosen because she's going for something more alternative and her mum would like her to do something more traditional. So I was always kind of mentally preparing myself for that situation. I did makeup on the sister next. That was fine. She went for something super duper natural, but she did have her two children running around, and one of her children knocked over actually three of my Armani Luminous Silk foundations, and one of them did smash, which, that's like £42. So not best pleased about that. But if that was the only thing to happen that day, that wouldn't have really bothered me. I think it might have been half full anyway, so it's fine. Things happen, kids knock over stuff. So comes to the mum, and the mum obviously hates the makeup that I've done on the bride, says she looks too pale. And the bride says, "Mum, this is my skin tone. Like, I am very, very, very pale. Like, this is what I look like." And the mum would like me to add more bronzer. And the bride's like, "No, please don't add any more bronzer. Like, this is my skin tone. I am naturally this fair." The mum sits down, and her first words to me, and I already know from this first sentence that I'm just not going to please this woman. So she sits down in the chair and she goes, "I need to look 30 pounds thinner, 30 years younger." And she said something else that I can't remember. I was honestly horror stricken by those first two sentences because we as makeup artists are not miracle workers. And I feel like it's sometimes really, really hard to balance the expectations of people and the societal beliefs and the fact that filters give nose jobs and the fact that filters give flawless, beautiful skin. And we're looking at celebrities who have unlimited money to have unlimited facials, and regular women like ourselves are wanting that when we can't necessarily get it because we're not celebrities and we can't have a filter on our face 24/7. And those expectations are pushed onto makeup artists. If we don't do that, if we don't make them look airbrushed, flawless, filtered, then we're not doing a good job, when actually nobody looks like that. Kim Kardashian doesn't look like that. People don't look like this. So I already knew she was not going to be happy with anything I did. I could be Mario himself and she wouldn't be happy. So I did her makeup. It took literally hours. I'm talking, it took so much time, but I think I did a really good job. I myself was really, really happy with the makeup, and she left feeling really, really happy. Now the venue was really, really alternative. We were getting ready upstairs and she was actually having her ceremony downstairs, literally directly below us. So I was packing up my kit and I was working with one of my amazing hairstylist friends called Cass. She was doing the hair. I was packing up my kit, and there was one sister who decided she didn't want her makeup done, but she had obviously seen how amazing everybody else had looked, and she was bugging me, "Can you do my eyes? Can you do my eyes?" And I was like, I don't really have time. But again, this was quite a long time ago, so I didn't really have the confidence then to speak up. I was kind of looking at the time and I was like, I literally probably only have 10 minutes before you have to be downstairs. Like, I can literally hear them doing the music, like starting to set up the music and stuff. So I said to her, I literally have 5 minutes. I can maybe do like a tiny bit of eyeshadow and a liner on you. And she's like, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes, I'll pay you, I'll pay you. So out my kit comes. I can literally hear them downstairs. Like, this is one of the bridesmaids, so she needs to be down there. And she had quite a lot of her own eyeshadow fall out underneath her eyes. So she's on my chair, and I literally say to her, do you have any allergies? Nope, 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 all fine, all fine. So I grab a makeup wipe. I don't typically do this, but time was of the essence. And I start to wipe away the fallout that she has created from her own eyeshadow. That's all I've done. I literally wipe it away, and literally within seconds, she says to me, what was that you used? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I pick up the wipes, and they were like some simple wipes. And I was like, cucumber something wipes, aloe. And she's like, oh my God, I have a horrendous allergy to aloe or cucumber. I can't remember what one it is. And I am visually seeing her under eyes go bright red. And she's like, ow, it's burning. Oh my God, what have you done? What have you put on? She immediately runs into the bathroom. There was like a bathroom opposite us. And Cass is like, I've got this. It's all good. And Cass follows her in. And I'm just stood there in like disbelief. Like, I can hear the music downstairs. I'm kicking myself that I didn't stick to my rules, like my own boundaries. Obviously, working in bridal, you don't typically take on anyone who hasn't, signed a contract or has been part of the agreement. And especially don't take them on if you only have like 5 minutes to do it. I broke every single boundary and internal rule that I had set myself. So I sheepishly go into the bathroom, and she's like, oh my God, I cannot believe you do this. She's now crying, and she's about to say something. And Cass interjects and goes, you said you didn't have any allergies. Why didn't you tell us that? And I was so thankful Cass was there. And I was also very confused because this particular sister was a lawyer. So I don't know what was happening, because surely in her head, she could remember herself saying she didn't have any allergies when she did have quite a serious one. But having Cass there to back me up meant the world. I don't know if Cass knows how much that meant. So Cass is like, it's fine. Like, you just go, I've got this. And I'm like begging her, let me put some concealer on it. Like, it will be fine. Just let me put some concealer on it. And she's literally like, no, you're not coming near my face. No, like, look what you've done. I've got pictures to take. And I'm just like about to die. I think I'm about to be sued. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And she does eventually agree to let me cover it up with a little bit of concealer. So I literally whack some concealer on that. I haven't done anything on the eyes yet, guys. I didn't even get to the eyes. Put some concealer. The concealer looks fine. She looks fine. And she runs downstairs to be part of the wedding. And I'm just there in disbelief and shock over what's just happened. I think Cass is staying there for a little bit longer than I am. So she tells me to go. I pack up all my stuff. I start to walk out, and I can literally see the sister having the time of her life. I think they've just got married at this point. That's how quickly this all took place. I had packed up my kit and they had got married. And I was just in shock. I was just in complete shock. And I was also really angry at myself because I had caused that situation by saying yes. I had stressed myself out. Obviously, she had kind of peer pressured me into it, but ultimately, I needed to take responsibility for my own actions with that. And that is, I cannot do that ever again. I need to make sure that she is in the contract, that everything is literally by the book, that nobody is creeping in and nobody is peer pressuring me in the future. So if you can take anything from these 3 experiences, it's to cover your back, be safe, let people know where you are, get the paper trails, and don't ignore red flags or bad negative juju or instincts. Lesson from story number 2, use your voice. We are paid to be there for a reason, and our voices are worth hearing. So if you are on set or if you're with a bride and you need to speak up about something that you know the most in the room about, do it. Use your voice. Lesson from story number 3 is stick to your boundaries. They're there for a reason. They're there to keep you safe, and they're there to protect your back from being sued. So those are my 3 horror stories over like the 10 or 11 years, however long it's been. I think I have got off quite lightly. I mean, these are 3 crazy stories, right? But I think ultimately they are my only 3. I couldn't name any other crazy stories. But I think they're all worth telling because, as I said, I think there's lessons to be gained from all of them. So if you have a horror story, please let me know. Please let me feel less alone in this, because every time I tell one of these stories, people are like, oh my God. So let me know if you've had any similar experiences. That is the end of the podcast, and I just wanted to take a little bit of time to thank you for sticking with me on my break. I am back to business now. I'm feeling really, really good. So the podcast will be coming back more regularly again. I have got guests lined up, I've got guest interviews lined up, and I just wanted to thank you guys for being so kind and checking in with me when I had my little break and just being the most awesome community ever. So, with that, I will see you next week for another guest interview. I will see you guys then. Bye, guys. You have been listening to a podcast by Kayleigh. Thank you so much for tuning in today and being on this mission with me to self-improvement and taking steps towards financial empowerment. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to follow me on the gram at by Kayleigh Designs, where I post pretty much daily. I would also love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and energy, so please do leave me a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you are listening today. In the meantime, I want you to go forward, believe in yourselves, and be the change you want to see. Bye, guys. Honestly, I couldn't put any bloopers from this episode in here because there was just too much swearing.